Hi, I'm Rex Sikes, and welcome to All Things Rex on the Los Angeles Tribune TV channel. And I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad to be here. Today, I have a fantastic guest for you. I've been wanting to talk to this man on camera for you for a long, long time. His name is Tom Chenault. Why do I want to talk to him, and why do you need to know who he is? He's the host of the longest and most popular radio show on home-based businesses. He is the progenitor, the creator of something called contactmapping.com. That's something you're going to want to learn about if you're in business or you have relationships with anyone that's human. I think that's you. And thirdly, he's been sober for 32 years, and he has lived an incredible life. He's one of the top 25 network marketers in the world, and he knows his business. I call him a friend, and he's a wonderful guy. And here he is, Mr. Tom Chenault. Hello, Tom. How are you?
I have never been better. What an honor to be on your show. And I am telling you, I've wanted to do this for a very, very long time. You are truly an amazing guy. I like that you said that I've been sober 32 years. Over my shoulder there, over there. How do I get there? Over there, that guy. That guy is my conscience. He's a homeless guy that I knew here in Longmont, Colorado. They had a great big event in Longmont, and they said, okay, we're going to find prominent people and paint them and then have an auction and sell the paintings, knowing everybody that got painted is going to buy their own painting. And I said, no, don't paint me, paint that guy. And they said, why is that? And I said, because I will pay a ton of money for it, and I will hang it over my shoulder for the rest of my life to remind myself I don't want to go back there to those days of alcohol and drugs, and that I need to tell the truth as fast as I can 100% of the time. So what you hear today, Rex, is going to be straight from my heart, not my head. And I'm promising you it's going to be the truth.
And that is what I know about you, sir. In knowing you, you're a man of integrity, you're a man of your word, and you are a man who knows how to reach people in incredible ways and help uplift them and make their lives that much more enjoyable, but that much more better. So I appreciate that, and thank you. And that's great. I mean, I didn't know about the painting, so that's great to hear.
That's what it's there for, man. It's truth serum.
So, well, let's start with this, because we have a number of friends in common, and I'm so pleased to call you a friend and they a friend, but you are one of the top 25 network marketers in the world. I mean, that in and of itself is just an incredible accomplishment. We'll come back to the sobriety. We're going to come back to the home-based business radio show and everything else. But being a network marketer, I mean, can you tell us how you got started, where you were? Were you born rich?
Oh, no, I was dead broke. In fact, I sobered up in 1988. And in September of 1988, and in January of 1989, I figured out exactly how broke I was, and I was completely in shock. In 88, I made $877,000 as a stockbroker. And in 89, I made like 10 grand. And I lost my job, I lost everything, and I was behind the 8 ball, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was one of those guys that network marketing, I would rather, if you gave me a choice between going to the moon or being a network marketer, I probably would have asked you what the weather was like on the moon. I wanted no part of it. I came home one day, opened up a newspaper, out fell a little piece of paper. It said unlimited income opportunity. I go, that doesn't sound bad. It said no credit check, not bad. No background check, not bad. And call this number. I called the number. The guy wouldn't tell me what it was. It was hysterical, because I've been pitched by every network marketing company on the planet, because I've got one of those personalities like that. But the next thing you know, he finally fessed up and said, it's multi-level marketing. Have you ever heard of it? I go, yeah, I've heard of it. And he goes, what do you think of it? I said, I don't. Is that stuff true? He said, what's that? Can I start today? Is there any credit check? Is there any background check? And is it unlimited income? Because I need income. He said, yeah, that's all true. I said, I'm in. He said, well, I'll send you some information. I said, no, you won't. I'm coming to your house. And I drove over to his house. I walked in the door. He had 6 cats. I held my nose. I walked in, I signed the distributor application. I bought a bunch of product and walked out the door. And I had all this product under my arm, and I go, where do I get more of this product if I need it? And he laughed at me and goes, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But he didn't understand the gift of desperation, Rex. And I looked him in the eye and I said, yeah, we'll see. And I sold that product before I got home because I'd written a hot check and I had to get the money back in the bank to get more product to get restarted. That's broke. And to tell the truth, it took me about 2 years to just get back to broke because I was so far in the trap after making all that money, but I'd spent it all. And I got started. It was hard. It took a long time. And here I am 32 years later, and I'm a 32-year overnight success, and it doesn't feel bad.
So there's hope for others in 32 years.
Yeah.
Well, this is good because what you said was really, I think, really crucial. There are a lot of people who are broke, but they're not desperate. For whatever reason, they're comfortable being broke. It hurts, it sucks, it's bad, it's terrible, but they don't do anything about it.
Right. That's exactly right. And you've got to, I don't pray for you, Rex, to get sober. I don't pray for you to be successful. I don't pray for you to have a nice car, and I don't pray for you to have anything. I pray for you the gift of desperation to figure it out for yourself, which is why they all need to buy your incredible book, because you can look behind the wall of your mind and see where you filed things wrong that you need to be refiled because they're in the wrong space. You labeled them wrong. You are not a loser. It's a temporary setback, but you are not a loser. You weren't born to be broke. You weren't born to be getting by. You were born to make a difference and change the world, and go do that, everybody.
God, I'm so glad you said that because it is so true. It is so accurate. And yet most people don't believe that about themselves, nor do they believe that about the world in general. They think in terms of haves and have-nots, but they don't consider the fact that they're born to have. They're born to be, successful. They're born to thrive and to live an abundant life. And yet they tolerate all sorts of pain and suffering. They tolerate brokenness. They tolerate, bad relationships and stay in them far after they do. They tolerate drugs and alcohol. They tolerate so many different things. And yet you just said, I was desperate. I wrote a hot check. I had to make good. And then you pray that people are desperate enough to make a change in their life. And I so appreciate that. That is so cool.
It's so easy to be sitting here acting all hips, looking cool. But I think COVID taught us all that all that exterior stuff is empty and meaningless without human connection. And I now know, I knew it before intuitively. Now I know it definitively that all that stuff is absolutely meaningless if I don't have people I love in my life around me to share even scarcity and poverty with. I don't want to go back there, but I would rather go back there with my friends than be out there and be that lonely little rich guy with no human beings to share it with.
Again, you speak such truth. I've spent lots of times in the homes of very wealthy people who are unhappy with everything they have surrounding them. And even in some cases, they have people surrounding them, but they're not happy with the people around them. There was a time in my life when I had 2 nickels in my pocket and I refused to spend them for months on end because I didn't want to be absolutely broke. As long as I had 2 nickels, I felt that I had something. And from something I could move forward. So but what you said, and this is goes back to your work in network marketing, and then the extension of that, because right there it says Tom Chenault, contactmapping.com, and you connect people up with their resources. You've made a lot of money, but you also connect people with people. I mean, your talent, your ability has been to put people together and to help people be successful so explain contact mapping. I'd rather have you do it than me talk about them.
Okay, so here's the deal, everybody, and this is the most important thing. You've all got a drawer full of business cards. that one of these days you're going to put them in your phone, and they're all sitting in your drawer right now, and you have no idea who they are. Then in your phone, you got a whole bunch of names of people with phone numbers that you have no idea who they are. And that's what happens to every one of us. And I have been unbelievably successful in my life for one big reason. I remember everyone and everything about everyone. And how did I do that? I've been doing it since 1970 when I worked in a restaurant. And in that restaurant, 75,000 people a month would come in the door. We were the #1 stop in Colorado for the food service company. We had over 100 kids under the age of 18 working there. And when the people would walk in the door, we would look for the person least likely to get a compliment, whether it was the grandmother with silver hair and the beautiful earrings or a handbag. And we would comment on the person least likely to get the compliment. And they would freak out and be all happy. And then we would go back up to the cash register and write down exactly what it was and what we said and when we were there. And then they came back in 2 weeks later. We said, "It's great to see you again. I remember that handbag you had last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago. It's great to see you." They were remembered. And they were remembered, and all the other people, the cooler people in the party, were so thrilled to see their grandmother remembered that they came back every Sunday for the rest of their life. And I realized at that point that it is being remembered and making everybody feel special that changes everything. So all my life, I've been documenting people. I meet them, I document them, and I remember them on a continual basis. And that has made me phenomenally successful in so many different professions, in so many areas of my life. It's unbelievable. So a few years ago, 3 years ago, actually, my son, Adrian, is the CFO, international CFO for a large internet company. And he lived in Zurich, Switzerland, real bright kid. And he was having a heck of a time because every time they gave him a promotion, they took a little bit more of his soul. So he came home. His rent was $5,500 a month. A hamburger was $45. His 3 kids and his wife he was never seeing. He was just rode hard and put away wet. And he said, "Dad, I don't know if I can, they want to promote me, but every time they promote me, it gets that much harder. I don't think my family or my marriage will survive it." I said, "Figure it out." So he started going out and looking into Y Combinator and all those internet sites where all those bright kids go to figure out what to do. And he's standing in the shower one day and he said, "Gee, man, and they said, one thing you want to do is have a great idea, and then you need an influencer to help move that idea." And all of a sudden it came to him, I've got to digitize my dad. So what he basically did was he took what I do so well, which is remember, document. I do it so well. I interview, I remember, I interview, I document, I remember. And that's the whole story of my life. But it's been unbelievably lucrative to me. And what he did was he made an app that does that for you. It's free. So if you go to the bottom of the page, you see contactmapping.com/Tom, you get the free app. All of a sudden you're swallowing your cigar. You cannot believe this thing is doing what it's doing. And then you start going to our classes and start getting into our community and our culture. And you all of a sudden are truly the most powerful person in your community because you're the one they go to whenever they need anything, not just network marketing, not just business. Everybody, my name should not be Tom Chenault. My first name should be Better. My middle name should be Call. And my last name should be Tom. Better call Tom. Because that's what people think these days. They have a problem, better call Tom. And I love being known for that because it lets me serve, Rex. My agenda is your agenda. That's that simple. Hello, Ashley.
That's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I want to stay on this for a moment because you said I realized in that restaurant that this touched this person, that they felt good, and that their family came back then, week after week after week because they were validated, they were remembered, they were recognized because you and or the staff at the restaurant took the time to remember things about them and notice things about them and then speak those things to them. And I don't want that lost on anyone watching the show, whether they're watching live or they're watching, somewhere down the road, because sometimes, great ideas, they come at us, but unless we stop and grab them, we just don't do it. You have done something truly remarkable, and that is you make other people feel really, 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 really good and heard and listened to and respected, and you create a rapport that otherwise most other people don't. And as you have said, you've been fabulously successful as a result.
And it's so fun. I'm in Detroit, Michigan, and there is a woman there. So it was a strategic alliance between a couple companies. And there was a woman there across the room that was the leader of the other company. And I'm the leader of this company. And she's over there glaring at me. And I go, what's that woman's name? And they said, her name is Victoria Barron. And I look in my phone, and there is Victoria Barron's name. And so she comes walking across the room, and you know how you have to have all the power, and whoever's the toughest is going to win. And she sticks out this ham of a hand, and she says, Victoria Barron, nice to meet you. I go, Victoria, it's nice to see you. She goes, what? Have we met? I go, you don't remember 5 years ago in Colorado Springs, Colorado at that health expo? You were in some company called Limu, and you were with your husband. I think his name was Iggy. Is he here? And she almost swallowed her cigar, and all the power went my way just because I wrote down a note that day 5 years earlier. There's a woman out there named Sandy Ellsberg. And over 21 years ago, I ran into her. I got her dreams and her story about what she wanted to do with her life. I jotted it down into my notes in my phone. And I ran into her 4 or 5 years ago. And I said, well, how's Anna? How's Aaliyah? And did you ever go out there and go back to New York City and reinvent education there? And she looked at me like I was a Martian. She could not believe because basically what she thought was I had read her mind somehow. And she didn't realize that many years ago, she told me that, and accidentally I jotted it down, and I've been able to keep those notes over my lifetime. I've got 15,000 people with stories in my phone, and no one can believe it. It's just frightening. And most of you don't have 15,000 people mapped in your phone, but you can start today. And in 15 years, you're going to be the coolest kid in the block, I promise you. So that's it, Rex. It's awesome.
Well, that in and of itself is just absolutely amazing. And again, it goes to demonstrate the kind of person you are, and the idea that you would take what you learn from other people about them and make it permanent for yourself so that you can recall it to be able to share it with them at another time. I mean, that them. It's just remarkable. It's just truly, they say, I mean, think about it. We've been told since time immemorial that the most important thing to another person is their name. So,
yeah.
Drop their name as often as possible. But that's not nearly as powerful as saying, you don't remember that we met 5 years ago at that expo? Was your husband Diggy here? In other words, you actually have something beyond their name to reference. And if the people watching right now want to get ahead, this is a great way to start, because you started years ago while working in a restaurant, but now it's become part and parcel of you. It is you. You've got a business. You've got an app that they can benefit from, and classes in a community. So you have taken the idea and scaled it. And anyone who wants to take the idea of improving their relationships and make that the basis for creating wealth or a business or just being better connected in the world, is just a fabulous thing. It gives someone a starting point. Like you said, you can start today.
Well, it would be very easy for me to tell. You guys are going to think I am like a mind reader, because I know the favorite subject of Ashley Berg. And I promise you, I know her favorite subject. And you're going, well, how can he read her mind? Because Ashley Berg's favorite subject is Ashley Berg. Tom Chenault's favorite subject is Tom Chenault. Rex Sikes' favorite subject is Rex Sikes. And if you can switch your agenda into what's in it for them instead of what's in it for you, you win 100% of the time. And all of a sudden, instead of treating people like prospects, which is so cornball, you are treating people like human beings that you can serve, that you are dropping off right where they want to be instead of where your agenda takes them. And had you done that, think about all the times in your life where people told you no, but you got trained by amateurs and they told you just to press through no matter what, and those aren't your friends anymore. Imagine if you would have just trusted God and understood that where they were that day wasn't where you wanted them, but it was exactly where God had them, and that you had to be okay with that. And your job wasn't to lose those people in your life. And all of a sudden you treated them with dignity, and you texted them a week later and said, even though you didn't enter my business, I really want to thank you for having lunch with me. And you're genuinely loving of them and trusting that everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to. At the end of the day, Natalie Forrest, Dr. Natalie Forrest, everything is going to shift. And all of a sudden, when the time is right, because of the way you treated them, when everybody else would have tossed them out of the boat because they weren't buying what you were selling, but you gave them the dignity to make the decision, all of a sudden, those people are going to come back to you when the time is right. And that's why you win every time doing it this way. I promise you, I am a great place to visit. You do not want to live here. I opened the show saying I was the most successful train wreck you've ever met in your life, but I've done phenomenally well because I cherish relationships so much, and I take it personally when I blow onto smithereens with my agenda. So Rex, that's the truth.
This is what I love about you, sir. This is what I love about you. You know, I, for years, have said that there's purpose and then there's a goal. For example, and I'll just run by, I don't know if we've ever discussed this way, but, you know, the people want to sell people on something. And so they have a goal of, you know, hitting a quota or getting the sale, you know, and that's their outcome. So if that's important to you, you know, if that's what you make important, you're going to behave a certain way. I always say go for what your purpose is. And what the purpose should be is that the other person feels so cared for that they know that their interests are in your heart. They feel so able to trust you as a result of that even if they don't buy anything from you, you will have established a relationship for life. And when you do, then oftentimes they will refer you out. So if you go for purpose as opposed to, you know, the closing a sale, you're going to go, and your purpose is to connect with other people where they're at, and to not do anything to violate that. So what you've just said to me just fits so greatly and so powerfully with the idea that people are where they are for whatever reason. And instead of trying to have them someplace else, meet them where they're at. And that a lot of people don't even bother. I always say, if you want somebody to listen to you, you need to listen first, you know, because people will reciprocate in kind, because they're more willing to reciprocate once they've been listened to or validated. So this is just absolutely beautiful. It's truly a marvelous discussion, and it's so incredible the way that you express it. But it's not just that; it's that you live it. And with that, I'm passing it over to you.
Well, the whole thing is fire your brain, hire your heart. Love like crazy, then love more. Give up all the labels that you have on yourself and all the labels that you put on other people. So stop interviewing people with your eyes, because that's just a skin bag and some clothes. And what matters is the person on the inside of that skin bag and those clothes. I promise you. And so once you get there, where you are standing inside of that, all of a sudden you win. And those people that, you know, people are going to try to pick you off all the time. I get picked off all the time. So what? That just has them in a spot. You know, you're going to spot it pretty quick unless you're all kinds of codependent, and that's a whole different other conversation. But you're going to have boundaries. I've got boundaries in my life to make sure that I don't get too tattooed by people. But I expect human beings to be fallible. I expect them to not be God. If they weren't going to make mistakes and let me down, that's just the part of life. But you know what? I kind of just roll with the punches. And Rex and I were talking earlier about surrender and turning everything over every day and just being along for the ride in life. And I do that. Here's what I know about that big piece of pie out there that called life. I'm just going to move my hands over here where I can make it look like a pie. And there's a little tiny slice of that pie called what Tom Chenault knows. And then there's a little bigger one called what Tom Chenault knows he doesn't know. And then the rest of that pie is all the magnificent of God. And that's where I met my wife. That's where I got sober. That's where I got into this crazy business that I'm in that pays me so much money. All the things I knew, that wasn't there. And I'm sitting there manipulating those two pieces of the pie and blocking out the magnificence of God. And when I shifted that and lived in what I don't know, where I don't want to go, all of a sudden everything started getting better because there's a big plan out there and I can't explain what it is, but all the great things that have ever happened in my life, I got just because I showed up. It's crazy.
It's crazy and it's wonderful. Truly remarkable. And you're talking about releasing and letting go and trusting and surrendering to God. I appreciate that. We're going to have to take a hard break.
No.
Just for a moment. And then Ashley had a couple of questions that if you were wanting to answer, they can put them back up on the other side of the break.
Yeah.
Because she did have some questions that two of them, I think, were flashed up there. So we'll do the break and we'll come right back. Thank you, Tom. I'm really enjoying this.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We've earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And we're back, Mr. Tom Chenault. And this is such a joy having you here on the show. I am so pleased that we're able to do this. And Ashley asks, have you ever trusted someone in business that took advantage of you, and how would you deal with that moving forward?
I try. Yeah, it happens all the time. What on earth? You got to expect that in business, and the more. Okay, so when you get sober, finally, after 37 years of being a total train wreck, you get something called a sponsor. And the sponsor says you have to do the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the fourth step is you have to make a list of all your resentments and all those people that stole your money, nailed your wife, did all this horrible stuff to you, and you just are all pissed. So the first column is the name of the person that you absolutely hate. The second column is what they did to you. The third column is how that affected your life. It affected my feelings. It affected my money. It affected my belief in people. And you get all that on the paper and you're just writing down and you're going that dirty dog and you're writing it down. And then that fourth column is the one that you just want to grab your throat and gag on because it says, what was your part in that? And I had to sit down for days on end with a pen and a piece of paper to see that I was cause in literally 100% of those situations that I had blamed on somebody else. And it was unbelievable. It was horrific. And then I had to go tell that story to a complete stranger. And then I had to do two more steps where I absolutely was able to eliminate those defects of shortcomings in Tom Chenault, not to have that happen again. And then I had to go to apologize with real truth and authenticity to those people I'd wronged. And those steps right there saved my life. They saved my bacon, and they made me the man I am today because I've got character, I've got integrity, and I'm a better man for having gone through all that, Ashley, than I was when I got there. I hope that answered that question. Uh-oh, Rex went quiet on us. What happened, Rex? They muted you.
I should have sound now. Actually, I just talk. I just move my lips every now and then to look like I have something to say when I really don't. But again, not to have anything lost on anyone, the idea of taking full responsibility for your part in something, even when the question was about what do you do when people wrong you, I think a lot of people, it's so easy to blame, it's easy to make excuses, it's easy to deflect and detract and to do all sorts of things, but to say, how am I a part of this? How do I create this? How do I play into all this? And then to say, I have to apologize. I have to recognize my responsibility. I have to apologize with truth and honesty. I have to behave in a new way instead of behaving in the old way, and then to be able to cut that loose, let go, and forgive everyone is just, an immense practice, and thank God for the 12 steps in that regard, and for the people transferring those. I'm going to put an aside. Ashley had another question I want to ask, but I want to say something. I was fortunate to be in, I think, Newport Beach or Seal Beach a number of years ago, and I went to a meeting. There were over 2,000 people at this meeting, and I know because I counted the rows and I counted the chairs and I did the math, and the place was filled to overflow. And it was a Friday night at 8 p.m., and it was an open meeting that I went with somebody who was important to me. And I'm sitting there, and about 8:30, I just started to weep. And because I realized that simultaneously all around the world, there were people in meetings like this meeting, small and large, people who were just brought into a meeting for the very first time, people who've been going to meetings for 30 or 40 years, people of all different, persuasions and all different things, who were there working on being sober and being a better person and overcoming and releasing and dropping their addictions. And I just went, holy crap, this is amazing. This is so touching. This is so, and I at that moment, I was like, this is so welcome. And I wish everybody could experience this and know how much these people who are here tonight and everywhere else in the world are working on being dedicated to being better people and to applying the 12 steps in their lives. And I know that there are some who aren't, but those who are, it just was the most life-changing experience for me to be part of that. And I have been touched by it ever since and remembered it ever since. And so the journey, and much of the 12 steps came from science of the mind and from the spiritual thought leaders and from the ancient mystics. I mean, it all started, Bill and Bob and everybody put these things together in a very useful and cogent way for people to be able to transform their lives. And thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you Ashley's question, which was, how do you love people? You just moved. There it is. How do you love people who try to take your kindness for weakness? And
same game. I mean, you're letting them have your power. Why would you do that? So you're going to sense that in 2 seconds. And if you continue to be kind to them while they're using that against you, that's on you. That's codependency. And I would strongly, what we seek approval so much that it's just like a cancer. And we think the more we do for people, they're going to like us that much more. And it isn't. We have to do it with people and not necessarily for them. And so I would tell you to always just check your premises. Why are you doing it? Because it happens to me all the time, because, I haven't had a drink in a long time, and I get calls literally every day. Oh man, I've been talking to this guy. I'm helping him get sober. He wants to live in my house. Should I let him live in my house? Should I let him have my money? Should I let him drive my car? I go, do you know why he's calling you on the phone instead of me? And they go, no, I think it's because I'm so nice. I'm really a great person. I go, no, he's calling you because he can con you. He can't con me. He doesn't want to get sober. He wants to steal your stuff. And even though it isn't alcohol probably, Ashley, in your life that's having that conversation with human beings like that, it's the same thing. It's endemic. What we've got is a bunch of people that don't want to get better. They just want to live in that world of quiet desperation. And you're going to be serving them to cut ties with them so they can go get the real help they need versus the Band-Aid they're trying to steal from you, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And I hope Ashley, was listening. And what I would like to do is, because you mentioned it before the break, the notion of not micromanaging the world, but letting go and letting God take care of things and surrendering. So let's how does Tom do this? What is Tom's approach?
Well, I read a book called The Surrender Experiments by a guy named Michael Singer. It's a business biography of the head of WebMD, who made a conscious decision to never, ever say no and wake up every day and say, God's got this. I'm just going to show up and I'm going to say yes, even though it's counterintuitive of what's going on right there. And I'm going to see what happens. And his story of his life is absolutely unbelievable. And he's also the guy that wrote The Untethered Soul, which everybody had told me to read because it was on Oprah and all this, Tony Robbins and all these hot shots. But I read it like I read most things, like half-assed, and just kind of, I'm so arrogant. And instead of reading it like owning it and eating it, I just read it. But then I read The Surrender Experiment, and it took me to The Untethered Soul, and I ate The Untethered Soul. And as a result, whenever times get troubled for me, that's my go-to book. It's not the Bible. It's not the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's The Untethered Soul, because it feels so much like me that when something comes in that absolutely rankles the hell out of me, either with my wife or Rex or anybody else, it comes in and I feel it stick right here. Now I'm able to release it because it's stuck to something in my past that wasn't complete. That's why it's stuck. And then I release it and I bring it back when I'm ready, but I look at what it's stuck to and do the work on that. And I learned all that from The Untethered Soul, which took me to another book that Rex is going to flip at because he doesn't believe there's a chance in the world that I read this book, because it's this thick and just deeper than I will ever be, called The Autobiography of a Yogi, which just was unbelievable too. And I just kind of go along with this path of spirituality now and wait for the door to open. That is my mind, where I can understand what I'm reading. And it's just been a glorious run. And I'm a better man for it all, Rex, because I gave up all my prejudices and beliefs and just stood one with what I believe God to be. And now I am bi. I'm truly bi. I am a bi man. I'm bipartisan. I'm bi-religious. I'm bi everything. And I like that. I'm 70 years old. And instead of being this indignant, one-sided, looking for evidence to really just back up my prejudices, now I just stand in the middle and try to say, God's got this. My job's just to watch and love. And that's what I try to do today, Rex, and it's worked out pretty well.
It makes the world such a more wonderful place. I think the world's already a wonderful place. I think everything that's going on in the world is what's meant to be going on, and that we should just get over it. One of my favorite quotes, I was talking about this morning, is, "This is the day the Lord hath made, rejoice and be glad in it." And what that says is that this day, the entire day, everything that's going on is part of the day that the Lord hath made, whether you believe in the Lord or not. But the point being is that the idea is that you can rejoice and you can be glad no matter what is happening. And if you become aware of suffering anywhere in the world and you become aware of it, then you have the opportunity and the responsibility to do something about it or for it, or it's your choice. But the point is that you let go, you let God, you surrender, you stop trying to micromanage, you stop blaming, excusing, and whining, and complaining, and deflecting, and detracting, and doing all this stuff. You just own it, and you celebrate it. Because if you consider everything a blessing, if everything is God, and God is omnipresent, omniscient, He's everywhere and everything, or if you don't believe in God, but you believe in energy is everywhere, equally distributed, present now and in the past. It can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. whether you believe in God or infinite intelligence, a higher power, a higher source, whatever you want to call it, then you let go and you let it or him or her or whatever take it. You surrender. If you consider everything a blessing, then everything is a blessing. It's when you judge it and when you criticize it and when you think this shouldn't be happening, that most of us run into trouble. And that is my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. So,
Yeah.
And I love Yogananda. I used to spend so many hours at the Self-Realization Shrine just meditating next to the water and listening to the waterfall or hanging out in the windmill at Parma. We used to like to call him Parmesan Yogananda to put a little Italian flavor to him. But yeah, a great book, Autobiography of a Yogi, and our Untethered Soul and the Surrender Experiment. If you're always saying yes to everything, everything is truly a blessing.
Well, if I would have been on my old path, I would have been either real rich or dead broke. I would have been real rich or in prison. I would have been real rich or I would have been dead. And I'm not real rich today, but I'm also none of those three. And I like that. I'm just sitting here right now, happy as a clam. I have an incredible life in Longmont, Colorado. I have a wife that I can't wait to see every day. I work with my kids. I help alcoholics and drug addicts. So I say to people, my job is network marketing. That's what I do for a living. My passion is people with alcoholic and drug problems. And my legacy is contact mapping. And I live my life like that. I know that when I leave this planet, nobody's going to look at me and say, oh man, you built a big multi-level marketing company and good on you. It won't be on my gravestone. It might be on my gravestone that I died sober, helping people remember other people powerfully. That might just make my gravestone.
Wow, that's beautiful. That truly is beautiful. But let me switch and let me do this because a lot of people don't understand network marketing. They've been called or they've been invited, but they don't really understand the principle behind network marketing. So what does it mean to be a network marketer in terms of collecting your paycheck?
Well, I think it's the greatest form of entrepreneurism on the planet because you can start with less than $500 and build a business as big as you want. And they say the people at the top make all the money, and that is absolutely the truth. But you get the chance today to be at the top of your business. And, I've been doing it now for 30 years, kicking and screaming. And I thought it was I was just exactly like all of you. I thought it was silly. I thought it was a puka shells and white belt. I thought you had to go to Thanksgiving and have circles for dessert. All the things that were horrible about network marketing, I believed it to be true. But again, going with the surrender experiment and God's infinite wisdom, I was a stockbroker. My income in 1988 was $877,000. I did not want, and lots of prestige, destruction and terrible stuff all around, but I still had that aura of what I thought was respectability. And God kept saying, Tom, no, let go of that rope. I have a better plan. And I held onto that rope like desperately. And finally, I let go of the rope. And I'm standing there like, I'm a network marketer. I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not anything. This is what I do. This is who I am. This is how I'm going to change the world for people with alcohol and drug problems. And this is how I'm going to be able to pay for it and have the time to do it. And I took it like that. And I realized that this was the vehicle to fund my dreams. And that's exactly what happened. And I had to work my ass off. Make no mistake. It's harder than your normal job. And the reason it's harder is because you can push the pig through the python snake. If you're a salesman, you can do all the quotas and you're doing it. When you do network marketing, your success is based on the success of other people being successful, which is really, really a big amount of responsibility. You've got to learn leadership. You've got to learn motivation. You've got to learn integrity and all that stuff. And all of a sudden you find yourself, and you've got to be a self-starter, and you've got to be all those things you've ever dreamed of wanting to be. And all of a sudden for $500, you are one. And what's so beautiful about that, Rex, is, and I wish every college kid on the planet were required to get into network marketing. No one 90 out of 100 don't make it, because those kids are going to learn a lot about human beings. They're going to learn a lot about rejection. They're going to learn a lot about teamwork and love. And that's all we really need to learn in life. And so I love the profession for what it is, which is called a level playing field. There is no entitlement. There is no education. There is nothing. It doesn't matter how good looking you are. All it matters is what's inside and how hard you can love other people and sell them the hope that their life could be better. And that's all I do for a living. I'm a hope merchant.
Wow. Wow. And what I also like that you said is all the skills that you need to learn, because what you're doing is you're leading others. You have to lead yourself first, and then you're leading other people to be successful. So you're building success together.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Let me just switch gears here too, because I want to talk about your radio show, because you have the longest running, most popular home-based business radio show in 450 different radio stations across the country, or something, that number. So let's talk about that, because I know that listeners are either entrepreneurial, or they're working for somebody, or they want to be an entrepreneur, or they want to have a home-based business. They want to, improve where they are. Some want to enhance it because they're doing well, and somebody are just starting out and they have nothing and want to get better. So tell us about your show and the opportunities for people having home-based businesses.
So it's called the Network Marketing Leadership Show. And I interview influencers from Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul, who's sold 500 million books, to Robert Kiyosaki, to Donald J. Trump when he was a network marketer, which he denies being now, to all these people. And I spend an hour just picking their brain, not on it, but on them. Because I do not focus on the how, I focus on the who. And so I have the show, and it's unbelievable. It's a blowtorch. It's not a podcast, even though it is a podcast. It's not a Facebook Live, even though it is a Facebook Live. It is a real radio show going out to 450 stations all over the world for an hour a week, showing people that life can be better than it is. And that's all my job is. That's all my life is. And it's fantastic.
That's fantastic. So let's hold you to the task of what you just, or hold me to the task of what you just said, and tell me, who is Tom Chenault? After all of the 45 minutes that we've been talking, what do we need to know about you that will help us?
That I'm 70 years old. That it's been 50 years since somebody looked at my report card. That there is nothing that is in your past that should have any bearing on your future unless you choose it to be. So any story that you have about you not being able to do anything, you made it up to keep yourself in the situation that you're in. So Tom Chenault's job on this planet is to help you get through that. And so my phone number is 720-840-7222. 720-840-7222. Text me, call me, go to contactmapping.com, send me a message there, and let me help you get out of the popcorn popper, because my job is getting you out of the popcorn popper. And I do it without agenda. If it's alcohol, if it's drugs, whatever it is, my job is to help you get out of that popcorn popper. That, my friends, is who Tom Chenault is.
Wow, and that is so generous of you to make that offer to the people here watching and listening to the show, and just a very beautiful offer. The other question that somebody had actually texted me was essentially, what if they look at network marketing and they go $500 to get started, they or something else, whatever the price tag is, and they go, I can't afford it. Because there are those people. That's the question that I got through a text. So what is the Tom's answer to I can't afford it?
Start with what you've got. I travel all over the world. I get to go to Russia. I get to go to Argentina. I get to go to all these crazy rich countries, Dubai, all these places, and all these really, really crazy poor countries. And what I know about those places is that it is amazing that everybody's just the same. And they're all going through the struggle together. And down in the Philippines and some places in Argentina, they'll get a bottle of vitamins that have 90 capsules in them. And they will divide all 90 capsules out and sell them one at a time to people walking in to pick up 4 or 5 capsules, to go sell those capsules and come back and get more. So no matter how broke you are, that's just a money conversation. And there's plenty of network marketing companies that you can start for free and get rolling. And what I would say to anybody that poor, that is that broke, I would say, work on your mind first, because there's no way on this planet that you should be in the situation that you're in. And what I want you to do is get out of the mindset of scarcity and poverty and get into the mindset of abundance and start creating a lifestyle and a life by visualizing, like Rex teaches you in his phenomenal book, how to plant yourself into your future and then live into it. So no matter where you are financially, it is a temporary setback. Know that and look in the mirror and say, you know what? This is where I am, but this is not me. And my destiny changes today. I'm going to call that Tom Chenault guy.
That is absolutely awesome, Tom. That is truly absolutely awesome. It looks like Askia has another question that says, you talk about this story and the idea of always say yes, but in business, aren't we supposed to be logical and not intuitive or emotional?
I would say to you, how's that working for you? Because you're out thinking God and you're going to lose every time. It's not working for you. You're also the woman that says people have screwed you in business. So all these stories about this and that, that's not working for you. Trust God. You just got to trust God. And you got to go out there and you learn from your mistakes. I didn't tell you to be an idiot, but I'm going to tell you one thing right now. The more you show up, especially when you don't want to, amazing things are going to happen to you around human beings. Where we get stuck is in Netflix, watching TV, isolating. Go out there and let the magnificence of other human beings change your life. And what you're going to find inside of that conversation is that you're helping people, and you're going to find yourself fed by that more than you ever thought possible. And then you're going to look up and you're going to say, gee, many Christmas, there's more money in my checking account. How did that happen? And God's going to say, because you got out there with some people instead of sat there and thought about it. Get out there with some people, folks.
Wow, and that's great. And Ashley came back and said, thanks for the reel.
That was a risky response. I was afraid. I really was. Ashley, I was scared to say that, but it came out of my heart, which came out of my mouth. If it would have stopped by my head, I probably would have said, no, I'm not going to be that straight. I'm going to pussyfoot around with that answer. But it went from my head to my mouth.
Got a little bit of freezing going on here. Sharon says, great in the mindset of abundance, Tom. Are you there, Tom? Did you freeze? I think we have a little bit of freeze. Get out there with some people, says Dr. Forrest. Tom, you're frozen. We'll give it a minute. I'm just loving this. I hope you are too. And what I invite you to do while we wait for Tom to find out what happens with the feed is if you're enjoying the show, obviously leave comments. If you're watching this other places like on YouTube, or you can hit the like buttons, hit the subscribe buttons, leave comments, ask questions. You got Tom. You got Tom. Are you there, Tom? Are you there? Well, and coming up is Dr. Natalie's show. So, and that is Wednesdays, I believe, around noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Dr. Natalie, we have Storytelling Alchemist. We have Jeremy McDonald. I don't know the days that show is on. I've been a guest on the show. I love the show. Goldie's got a new show coming up, Golden Rules.
I'm here,
in Relation and Life. And Tom is back.
Can you
back?
hear me?
I can hear you. You're frozen. Can you speak, Tom?
Am I?
Go ahead and talk. So what we'll do is we're going to have we're going to try and fix Tom behind the scenes if we can, and we're going to, and if we can't, we'll say thank you, Tom, because we love you and I love you, and I'm so glad that you're here. But we'll see if we can bring him back for the close of the show. But maybe in the meantime, in the feed somewhere, people behind the scenes can put up the times of Dr. Natalie's show and Goldie's show and Jeremy's show so that everyone knows when that is. My show is every Thursday. We stream live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Eastern. That was the show that we did last week with Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy. And I'm so glad that he was a guest. Dr. Laura's show is also another one of the incredible shows on the LA Tribune. And again, if they can put up the times when these different shows air, let's see, we don't look like we have Tom. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close out the show. I will talk to Tom behind the scenes. Hopefully we can have him back as a guest. I think his contribution was absolutely fabulous, and I hope you do too. He's a valued guest. My book, Life on Your Terms, is available from Amazon. You can go to my website, rexsikes.com, my name, REXSIKES.com, and there's a link to the book there. And when you get the book, if you come back with your Amazon receipt for the hardcover or the paperback book and you put it in a particular place, you'll get a bonus $497 training for free on mastery and how we master our mindset, how we master skills, how we master emotions, and you're going to love the book Life on Your Terms. I also have deep dive programs that you're going to love. There's programs in NLP and what I call mind design, the law of attraction, learn how to change your thoughts and transform your life. So come and visit me at rexsikes.com. Be sure to give Tom a call. We'll check into contact mapping and realize that you're listening and watching the Los Angeles Tribune TV network. And this is All Things Rex, again, every Thursday. I have another incredible guest coming up next week. And so I hope you'll join us live. I hope you'll share this show. And remember that all of these shows are available on the Los Angeles Tribune Facebook page, live, the Los Angeles Tribune YouTube channel, live, Periscope, Twitch, Twitter, my LinkedIn profile, and on these other areas, and Roku TV. And the replays are also available. So if you want to watch this again, you can watch it multiple times. I encourage you to do so. And you can share it to your friends, your family, and even to strangers. And I would ask that you help do that. You help me, help promote the show. You help my guests. And I promise you we'll continue to bring you great guests with loads of good information that you can use to transform your thoughts, your feelings, the words you speak, your behaviors, and your whole life. So that's it. I'm Rex. If you consider everything a blessing, everything will be a blessing. And with that, the show is over. So celebrate everything.